guys, this is Scribble Scrabble. Don't ask me why I'm using facerig. I just thought it'd be fun, honestly. It's just kind of a spontaneous thing, really. But we are going to be doing story time for this Wacky Wednesday. Now, I don't get a lot of feedback, honestly, so I'm not sure exactly how well this will go or what you guys really want. But I'm hoping it'll go good. I hope you guys enjoy it. I'm really stuck between two different choices. I wanted to tell a story from my life, but I also wanted to tell a scary story in a different way that isn't necessarily a part of my life specifically. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit of a story from my own life. A real story. You can believe it or not. We're going to do a scary story. So here we go. So this story starts out when I was, I don't know, I think I was a young teenager. We lived in an apartment, and a lot of weird stuff happened in this apartment, but I'll do one story. One of the biggest stories. One of the biggest things that ever happened to me that creeps me out to this day, really. I probably would never step foot in that apartment again, honestly. So, the story starts out, it was a school night, but as most teenagers, I stayed up way past my bedtime, all the time. So I was laying on my top bunk because my sister laid in the bottom bunk. We had a big metal bunk bed with metal bars that kept me from, rolling off onto the ground while I slept. So I was in my top bunk and, I was getting ready for bed. I had stayed up late and I was like, I have school tomorrow. I really need to get to sleep. So, anyways, I was getting ready for bed. I had this little pink poodle stuffed animal. It was my favorite stuffed animal at the time. I don't have it anymore. I don't really know what happened to it, honestly. But I was just starting to get ready for bed. And as I laid there and closed my eyes, I felt something strange. It felt like something was kind of pulling on my poodle a little. And I kind of looked over and there was nothing there, and I kind of stopped and I was like, okay, this is weird. So at that point, I tried to go back to sleep and it happened again. And I got a little angry. I was like, what is going on? So I yanked my poodle back. And apparently whatever it was didn't like that. And it got angry too. And it pulled my poodle really hard and wedged it through the metal bars. Now, at this point, I'm really freaked out, but I'm too scared to move. So I keep my eyes closed because I don't want to see whatever it is. I don't want to see the monster. I keep my eyes closed. Okay. Now, I'm kind of just hoping it'll go away at this point, but no, it doesn't. So I start to hear something strange. I hear something whispering in my ear. Now, not just saying anything normal, I remember specifically thinking, this voice sounds a lot like my cousin's voice, my cousin Aaron. The voice was very similar to my cousin's voice. I don't know why, it just was. But it wasn't speaking in English. I don't know what language it was speaking in. I don't even know if it was any language I've ever heard of. And it was speaking in fast forward, like everything was fast forwarded. So I'm listening to this voice speaking to me, and at this point, I am going insane. I leap from the top bunk, pretty much. Sadly, leave my sister in the bottom bunk because I'm too freaked out, and she's sleeping, so I'm kind of assuming she's not hearing any of this and none of this is happening to her, and I'm too scared to stop at this point. I'm just running, so I run into the living room. Now, I don't necessarily remember why, but my mother is there in the living room sleeping, so I go up to her and I wake her up, and I'm in a panic, and I'm like, Mom, this thing was talking to me and it was pulling my stuffed animal, and of course, like all mothers and parents, she didn't really believe me, of course. So she kind of sat me down on the couch next to her, and she told me it'd be okay, and she just kind of calmed me down, and after quite a bit of convincing, I eventually did calm down. But unfortunately, the story doesn't end here. After I calmed down a bit, I lay down on the couch, and I decided that was where I was going to sleep. I was going to sleep on the couch next to my mother, and everything was going to be okay. It wasn't. So I lay down, and as soon as I close my eyes, I hear this sound in my ear. Right in my ear. Now, naturally, I freak out because I know I'm not dreaming. I haven't even gotten the chance to fall asleep yet. I sit up really quick on the couch, and I start screaming because the first thing I see when I open my eyes, is this big black figure right across the room, just looking at me. Just looking at me. And my mom is up at this point, and I'm just screaming. I'm like, you can't see that. You don't see that. It's right there. It's right there. And she doesn't see it. I'm looking at this thing, and she doesn't see it. She even gets up and goes and stands right in front of it, and she still doesn't see it. I'm the only one that can see it. So, needless to say, for the rest of the night, well into the morning, when the figure finally disappeared with the waking sun, I didn't sleep. So, that was one of the creepiest things that have ever happened to me in my life, and I still remember it quite clearly to this day. And that wasn't the only creepy thing that happened in that apartment. That apartment was haunted as fuck. But anyways, that's a story from my life. But it was really just an opening because I'm hoping to tell you guys another scary story today. And I'm hoping you guys really enjoy it. So if you guys enjoy how this is going, and you enjoy hearing stories from my life, and you enjoy the scary stories that I tell, let me know in the comments. Let me know if there's any other types of stories you'd like to hear, or if you'd like me to do anything else for Wacky Wednesday next Wednesday. Whether that be pranks, challenges, more stories, whatever. It's your choice. If nobody decides, I'll just decide on my own, obviously. That's what I'm doing now. Once again, I'd just like to let you guys know to please, 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 please like my Facebook, because if you do, then it'll be easier to discuss these kinds of videos with you guys and figure out what you really want. So if you really want to be a part of how videos are decided and what I do with them, you can comment in the comment section below. But it'll be easier to actually talk to you if you like my Facebook, so please do that. Anyways, without further ado, we will continue on to the story. Like most people, I had a sad childhood. Who doesn't these days? My father left before I was born, and my mother was on drugs from the day she brought me home. She slipped right back into her party lifestyle and turned our apartment into an opium den. I walked around in a drug-fueled haze for the first 5 years of my life. The smoky air flooded down the hallway and under my door, and seemed to linger for days. My mother wasn't a bad person, just a victim of her addictions. When she did have spare money, she would put food in the house and even sometimes buy me clothes from Goodwill. The only pieces of furniture I had in my bedroom were a box spring and mattress set, and a little blue and white toy chest. Not that I had a lot of toys to put in it, just the 3 I'd gotten for birthdays. One was an art kit, one was a red wagon, and the last, my pride and joy, was a doll named Betsy. Betsy was my best friend. We would have imaginary tea parties together, sleep together, take baths together, and sometimes I remember her speaking to me. Thinking about Betsy in adulthood has led me to believe that I was a severely traumatized child who was often high on opium, and therefore my memories were extremely unreliable. Still, I remember the sound of her voice, a high-pitched, tinkled lilt, and I remember the things she wanted me to do. Steal food for her, bring her forks, bring her knives, hit the bad man who slept on the couch. Always bad things that would get me in trouble. I would blame it on Betsy, but my mother would never believe me. Adults never do. Around my 6th birthday, I asked my mother for a birthday party. I wanted to invite the not nice girls from school, serve them cake, make them like me. I still remember standing in the kitchen with such high hopes, a glass bottle of soda shaking in my hand as I held my breath and awaited my mother's answer. She turned to me and laughed. A birthday party? Lord, that's ridiculous. I can't afford to feed 15 other children that aren't even mine. I can barely afford to feed you. You eat like an elephant. Or should I say little Betsy does. I barely get anything to eat around here. My face fell as she shook her head, mumbled something, and stumbled off. I heard the music go up in the living room as more people walked in the door. Some left, some stayed. I knew none of them. My mother threw parties all the time. What about me? I was a child. All my friends had birthday parties, and now the mean girls would know I was too poor to have one, and they would tease me even more. I felt tears start to swell, and I ran into my room and slammed the door. Betsy was laying on the bed and smiling. She was always smiling. How could I forget? Just staring at me, smiling. She was going to tell me to do something bad, like steal more food or worse. This was her fault. Betsy didn't have to go to school. Betsy never got in trouble like I did. And in my 5-year-old little brain, I truly believed it was the doll, not my mother, who was the source of all my woes. I screamed in anger and threw the bottle as hard as I could at the bed. It hit Betsy, and she fell on the floor. I laughed. I dragged her into the bathroom and threw her into our bathtub, which always had water in it as the drains were all clogged. Of course, she didn't fight back while she was underwater, but it made me feel better. A few minutes later, after I'd finished taking out my anger and humiliation on my favorite toy, I threw her in the toy chest and slammed it shut. I kicked the chest against the wall. I never wanted to see Betsy again. I never owned another doll after that. About a week later, the police came and 2 nice ladies took me to live in a new home in the new state, with food and toys and no drugs. The trunk went into storage and the wagon disappeared. I never saw my mother again. As I got older, my foster parents admitted she was in jail, doing 25 years. I felt nothing for her anyway. I was still having nightmares because of the life she had given me. I focused on doing well in school and ignored her letters from prison. She reached out to me several times in my teens, but I always declined her calls. That is, until this morning. I am 30 now, with my own children and a husband who loves me deeply. I have a beautiful house, 2 dogs, and a career as a social worker trying to make a difference for kids who had it bad like me. So when I got a voicemail from my mother letting me know she had been paroled and wished to speak, I felt stable enough to let her say her piece. Since the kids were home from school, I went out to our shed in the backyard to return my mother's call. The shed was the children's domain, and they used it to play in the summer. I sat on my old toy chest, which was currently being used as a tea party table, and dialed the number she had left me. Hello, Laura? Hello, Mother. How are you? Oh, Laura, thank you for speaking to me. I know you have your own life now and family. I would love to meet them someday. I just wanted to tell you how sorry I am for everything. You are not meeting my kids. Ever. I'm going to say my piece here, too. The drugs destroyed you, and you took me down alongside you. Honestly, I'm surprised it took you so long to get caught. I'm not sure what you mean about being caught, Laura. I honestly know nothing. Look, it hardly matters. I do understand why you would feel that way. Why you would hate me and not want me to meet your little ones. I learned a lot about Jesus and forgiveness while I was away, and just... Oh, Laura, I'm so sorry about Betsy. Betsy? I paused, confused. Why would you care about her? I know, Laura, believe me, I do. It was all my fault, the drugs and Betsy. Oh, God. If I had only been able to see through the haze, if I'd only known. She's gone forever now, and it's all my fault. As my mother began to cry, I tapped my fingers on the toy box impatiently. The drugs had clearly fried my mother's brain. Mother, why are you talking about Betsy? Why do you even care? And I know where Betsy is. Right underneath me. You do? What are you talking about, Laura? Oh, God, where is she? I shifted uncomfortably. Betsy's in the trunk. I honestly thought she had hung up. I heard nothing on the other end, not even breathing. What do you mean your sister's in the trunk? Sister? What the hell are you talking about? Back on the drugs so soon, Mother? Betsy's a goddamn doll. I locked her in the toy box a few days before you got arrested for opium possession. Laura, oh God, no, Laura. I wasn't arrested because of the drugs. I was arrested because of Betsy's disappearance. You always called her your little doll, but we all thought you knew. Oh God, what did you do, Laura? What did you do to my baby? With no emotion, I set the phone next to me and stood up. I could hear the distant sound of my mother's anguished cries and feel the dark clutch of agony in my own chest. Memories were stirring the back of my mind, threatening to come flooding forward into my consciousness. Pushing against a door in my head, a door that had been locked so tightly for so long, I had forgotten it was there. Could the trauma and the drugs have really led me to believe that a small child was actually a doll? Asking for food, asking for utensils to eat with? Asking me to protect her from the bad man? No. I slowly turned around and brought my eyes down to the chest. Surely it was too small. You couldn't fit a person in there. You couldn't. But what about a small, starving, emaciated child? What about her? If I were an investigator looking for a child, I would never consider looking in this chest. It was just too small. I knelt down to the ground and unclipped the clasps. It would be better to not look. After all that I had overcome, this new life that I had earned, it could all be undone by opening this toy box. I shouldn't open it. I should throw it in a landfill and forget it ever existed. I should not look inside. I opened the chest. I never had a doll. My mother never could afford to buy me one. I never had a wagon either. But I did have a toy box. A pretty blue and white toy box. And when I was 5, I drowned my 2-year-old sister and put her in it. And now my life is over.